and the EU's top diplomats met today to brainstorm over how to break Europe's dependence on Russian energy. There were few concrete solutions, though the US again offered to ship US gas across the Atlantic. But as RT's Peter Oliver reports, that's easier said than done.
A united message from Europe's top brass.
Sanctions.
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 We make sure that unacceptable actions will bear very serious consequences.
But when it comes to the EU's dependence on Russian gas, the numbers speak louder than words. Around a third of the gas used domestically in the EU comes from Russia. Industries like car production, metalworks and other heavy manufacturing are reliant on Russian gas for power. A potential solution is that Europe could import American shale gas, which Washington has already offered.
There's no perfect, free, ideal, cheap energy sources. The United States as a source of energy is one possibility.
But that throws up its own problems. Firstly, the United States has no operational facilities to liquefy natural gas for transport. Secondly, it would take more than 2 million tanker trips a year to satisfy Europe's demand. And only about 400 of the gas tankers needed actually exist. And then the cost of shipping supplies 6,000 kilometres, which would be huge. But before that can happen, Europe will also have to spend years building vast gas pipe networks, liquid natural gas terminals and storage facilities. And after all that extra expense, what effect will it have on gas prices?
The cost of gas delivered, let's say here in the Czech Republic, would be pretty much comparable to what today's price is.
A quick and easy solution to those European countries wanting to diversify away from a dependence on Russian gas may sound too good to be true to some, but when you speak to energy experts, they'll tell you it's completely unfeasible.
Well, I think it is very legitimate that every country, and also the EU, looks for diversification. But one has to be realistic and not to go with the populists. Everybody who claims there is an alternative in the short run is false. In the short run, and I would say definitely until 2030, we need Russian gas in Europe.
The energy relationship with Russia is just too important to industry and ultimately the EU's economy to risk damaging or leaving the European Union's tough talk on sanctions looking rather toothless. Peter Oliver, RT, Berlin.
Well, as far as South Stream is concerned, we believe that the European Commission's attitude has not been constructive. It has not been helpful in implementing this project. Moreover, we actually see it trying to create impediments and obstruct the implementation of this project. Well, if Europe does not want this project to be implemented, then we will not implement this project. We will redirect our energy resources to other regions of the world, in part through implementing our liquefied natural gas projects and speeding them up. We will just sell our energy resources to other markets, and Europe will not receive them in the necessary amounts. We believe this would be contrary to Europe's economic interests. This would negatively affect our economic cooperation, but that is the choice on the part of our European friends. It is their own choice. They are the buyers, it is up to them, but Russia cannot start constructing a pipeline so long as we have not received Bulgaria's authorization for constructing something in its exclusive economic zone. We cannot, it would be ridiculous for us to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in constructing a project, bringing it to Bulgaria's borders and having to drop it.
Well, certainly we talk about the tit-for-tat sanctions, the boomerang effect as well. You talk about, it's only 10% of European gross exports. However, it's still a big number when it comes to the billions involved. But in your opinion, Nigel, how long could it take Russia to find substitutes for the European food imports now banned? I mean, is it even possible in some cases? Because as they always say, it's a two-way street, isn't it here?
It is a two-way street, but I've read over the last few days that Russia have already been speaking in particular to Brazil, perhaps to Argentina, Belarus, Georgia, Turkey and other countries who may step in to assist.
Но вот Соединенные Штаты наши друзья американские, они генерируют...
Владимир Владимирович, друзья?
Ну, конечно, у нас все друзья. Значит, они генерируют, печатают доллары, превратили свою национальную валюту в глобальную валюту. И отказались вот несколько десятилетий назад от золотого эквивалента. Но все равно станок у них, и они явно на этом работают. Молодцы. Да ну почему так произошло? Потому что они добились определенного положения после Второй мировой войны. Вот я к чему это говорю.
Now, the Prime Minister also said that this was a unique chance with regards to the ban on imports of agricultural goods from Europe and elsewhere, that this was a unique chance to solve the problems within Russia's own industry and agricultural sectors. He also said that there was if their partners around the world, if their Western partners were to take a more reasonable stance regarding sanctions against Russia, that this import ban could be looked at again and perhaps removed. But in terms of from right here in Europe, how important the export of European goods into Russia are. The agricultural imports from right here last year alone were worth 11.8 billion euros. So that is now going to be, that's not going to exist in the next year for European companies to make that type of money. It's a huge chunk of cash that is no longer going to be there because of this ban.
Попытка тягаться.
Нам не нужно тягаться.
Пупок не развяжется?
Не, нам не нужно тягаться. Нам просто не нужно тягаться.
А что мы делаем?
Нам нужно просто спокойно осуществлять свою повестку дня. Вот многие говорят о том, что цены на нефть падают, в том числе потому, что там возможен сговор между традиционными производителями, в том числе Саудовской Аравией и Соединенными Штатами, что делается специально, чтобы опустить российскую экономику. Вы знаете, если со специалистами сейчас вы поговорите, не с такими, как я, а с настоящими специалистами в области экономики.
А кто у нас? Если не вы, то кто же?
А у нас вот...
As for Turkey,
растет потребление.
Turkey's consumption has been growing, and our Turkish partners have an understanding of how their economy will be evolving in the years to come, and how much energy resources they will need, and we are ready to provide them with that. And we are ready to expand our delivery via Blue Stream and by constructing another pipeline. And if that is necessary, if our relevant ministries and companies agree on them, and that is what their memo was about today, the one they signed today. So if they deem it necessary, they would set up a gas hub for the southern Europe on the border between Greece and Turkey, and anyone could actually buy it from there. But like I said, this would require additional preparation, but I think it is quite feasible. And as we go on expanding and promoting our cooperation, we could also reduce our gas prices for Turkey as our strategic partner. We start with bringing it down by 6% as of January 1st, and we'll see further on at how our relations will be developing in this area.
And Nigel, what about the EU sanctions that now aren't allowing a major Russian discounter to fly to Crimea due to leasing contracts with Boeing? Do you think other airlines could face similar restrictions?
I think they may face similar restrictions, but what we're going to see is we now have a response from Russia to the sanctions. Now, the whole philosophy behind the EU sanctions, which we saw, for example, with Iran, are that they ramp up very, very slowly. So I think we're going to have to wait and see how the EU responds. I don't think they're going to respond with any particular sanctions in relation to what's happened in the last day. But what's striking is that when the sanctions were ramped up against Iran, there was very little Iran could do. The West didn't really need much from Iran, but that's not the case with Russia. And I think Russia has made very clear that it will retaliate in a proportionate manner.
Well, certainly Russia has its friends in the BRICS group as well, and a lot of friends, as you know, in the Far East as well, with a recent historic deal with China worth $400 billion. If we can just get down to the gritty here, Nigel, how long do you think the whole sanctions argument, the sanctions war, is going to last?
I think that all depends on what will happen in Ukraine. It's as simple as that.
Oh, and here we are, Nigel, showing the pictures here on RT International from our Rupley video agency, showing renewed demonstrations on Maidan Square with plumes of smoke. Back again, a flashback to November of last year. We'll have to continue covering it. Nigel Kushner, international trade specialist, thank you very much.
It's weird because my Bulgarian counterparts used to tell me that they would follow through with the authorization for South Stream because it's in their interests. Well, if Bulgaria is not entitled to act as an independent country, well, at least they should demand compensation from the European Commission for their missed interest, because Bulgaria will not receive about 400 million euros annually from this project. But this is Bulgaria's choice. I suppose they must have their own commitments, but this is nothing. This is none of our business. It's up to our relations with Germany. According to our agreement with Germany, Gazprom received access to Germany's retail networks, retail chains, and that's why Germany enjoys lower gas prices from us compared to the rest of Europe. That is this special treatment for special partners, and maybe we will pursue something of the kind with Turkey. As regards the nuclear power plant to be constructed in Turkey, it is unique, as in, for the first time, it is being constructed according to this principle: you pay, you own, you operate it. So Russia will be the owner of this power plant. Of course, it will require a lot of investment, 20 billion. Russia will not say no to this project. On the contrary, if Turkey wants to have more than just one nuclear power plant, but a whole nuclear industry, an up-to-date state-of-the-art nuclear industry, we will be ready to provide that. We see no difficulties as regards financing or the time frame. It will all be done within our agreed periods, following the best practices and standards as regards safety, because we are providing Turkey with an improved technology which was adjusted and updated following the Fukushima disaster.